Hi, welcome to BariNation, where we support the bariatric community with humor, humility, and honesty.
You've just tuned into a podcast that welcomes you into a community, a resource center, and a safe place that powers your journey towards personal wellness.
Our goal is you leave us today feeling hopeful, inspired, and ready to live your best bariatric life.
Hey friends, it's April. If you're listening or watching this podcast, you know that sometimes you just want to ask your question or share a struggle with somebody who gets it, somebody who's fighting the disease of obesity and knows what that looks and feels like. That's exactly what you can find in the BariNation support community. Each week, you have the opportunity to connect in real time with experts and patients just like me to get the support, resources, and education that you need. Join us. Visit barination.mn.co or click the link in the show notes to learn more. For about $1 a day, this could be the best gift that you give yourself this holiday season. I hope I see you in the nation soon. Hey friends, before we dive into this conversation with Kellie Armstrong, she just wants to take a few moments to make sure that you understand that this conversation is coming from her lived patient experience.
So even though I'm very involved in ASMBS and my healthcare system, Brown University Health, everything that I'm going to talk about is from me. So I'm not representing either one of them when I'm having this discussion with you. Yes, I'm going to be using my nursing and my bariatric professional experience, but I'm also talking to you as a patient as well. And you'll see that as we go through. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands the words that come out of my mouth are my representation of me.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to the BariNation podcast. Today, Jason and I have the honor of interviewing a woman that we have known for a few years now because of our involvement with ASMBS. And this conversation is going to be fire. Kellie Armstrong is joining us today to talk about the intersection of patient life and professional life. Hi, Kellie.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
The very first time I set eyes on you, I knew we were in for a treat because at ASMBS, you can put stickers or badges on your lanyard. And Kellie's was the longest I'd ever seen. It literally touched the floor. I was like, we need to talk to her.
You know why I do that, right?
No.
Because you noticed. And because you noticed, you have to come up and ask me a question because you're going to say, what the heck is that? Or you're going to say something walking by. And that allows me to have an interaction with you. So then I say to people, well, you have to ask me a question about one of the badges now.
You did, actually. Now that I'm thinking about that, that was exactly what you did. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you are a wizard for a lot of different reasons.
There's always a method behind my madness.
There's always. Well, tonight's conversation, friends, is really going to be about this intersection where our professional life or our personal life finds its way right into our bariatric journey. And a lot has changed in the bariatric space since Kellie first started practicing obesity medicine. So tonight we want to understand really where obesity medicine has come from, what are the emerging treatments, and how we as patients can better access them and not be afraid when our bariatric life just becomes a part of our life, right? Kellie is a patient and a provider as well. So before we dive into this conversation, Kellie, will you please introduce yourself to our friends that have never met you before?
No problem. My name is Kellie Armstrong. I am a registered nurse by trade. For the last 15 years, I have been directly in administration, so I haven't been at the bedside. I am the service line manager for our weight loss program here at the Miriam Hospital in Providence, Rhode Island, under Brown University Health. I have been in bariatrics as a healthcare provider since the year 2000. So just over 25 years. I'm also a patient. So July 5th, I just celebrated my 20th surgiversary. Yay. I'm also currently the American Society of Metabolic and Bariatric Surgery, which I'm going to call ASMBS just because it's so much easier to say it that way. Integrated Health Director. And Integrated Health is all the rest of the team that's not the surgeon. So the nurse practitioners, physician's assistant, nurses, coordinators, dietitians, behavior health, psych, social work, our office staff, everybody else within our society is Integrated Health. So I am the current director / I don't know, what do we call it? Like leader of our section of the group. That started July 1st. I have it for 1 year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It is a monumental task that you have undertaken, but I know that the IH section is in amazing hands. You have been
Thank
so
you.
involved with that organization for so long. And the fact that it's being led by somebody who has not only the professional experience, but the patient experience, that's pretty amazing, because as Jason and I know, you bring a very different perspective to that role, because you are living with the disease day in and day out. And you have seen it, how it has progressed from where it started back in 1967 to where it is today. Correct. So, right. There's a lot there.
There is a lot. And when I go back and I think about my very first bariatric surgery patient, and this is going to be a quick story, but just to say it out loud, we had no idea as nurses what bariatric surgery was. Like, there was no education in my nursing school years. There was no education. My education about obesity was people don't eat and they don't move, or they don't eat right. I'm sorry. They don't eat right and they don't move. That was my education about obesity when I went to nursing school. There was no mention of what bariatric surgery was in nursing school. So I've been a nurse a few years now. I'm on my nursing unit. Nursing supervisor comes up to the floor and goes, "Hey, you guys are getting a bariatric surgery patient. It's called, he didn't say bariatric. I'm sorry. He said, you're getting a gastric bypass patient and Dr. So-and-so did it." And we're looking at her like, what? Why is a general surgeon doing vascular surgery to someone's stomach? That to us was like, we didn't know what it was.
Wow.
Because it was the first patient we had there in many, 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 many years. Rhode Island Hospital, where I was working at the time, which my sister hospital to the hospital I'm in right now, had done some bariatric surgery years before under a couple other docs, but not a lot of cases, right? And a lot of us who were working on this critical care unit, a lot of us were nurses for less than 5 or 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
So we had never seen one of these. So it was like, okay, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
So it was like an instant learning. I mean, we've all done abdominals and, gastrointestinal, stomach, intestine surgery patients, but not one for this particular reason.
Yeah.
So it was an awakening, and that was in 2000.
Oh my gosh. I could not imagine being in that situation, but thank goodness, I guess the situation existed, because now we have modern patients like Jason and myself, modern care. And it kind of brings up this thought for me. I don't know where I read this article, but it was about the Hippocratic Oath and about how the Hippocratic Oath says, do no harm. Mm-hmm. But what the article was getting at is that how do we make medical advancements? How do we discover what actually works for patients without doing a little bit of harm? Because you're undergoing these procedures, you're pushing the boundaries, right? You've done the research, you've done all of these things, but the patient's there on the table and the outcome is a little bit unknown, especially right in the very early stages of bariatric medicine.
Yeah.
And when you were telling your story, that was what was going up here in my head. It's like, it really is this very tight line between obviously do no harm, but sometimes in treatment, harm is done without even knowing it. And you have to be willing to take on a little bit of risk to help more patients in the future, which is exactly right what obesity medicine has done since it wasn't the first Roux-En-Y procedure, open surgery, 1967.
Yeah. Big difference in what we're doing nowadays.
Big difference. Okay. Well, let's dive in. Let's get to the heart of this conversation. And I think I kind of want to start with a question for all of us from our patient perspective. And Jason, I'd love to know your thoughts on this, because I don't think I've ever asked you this before. And Kellie, it goes for you too. Has your bariatric life, has your bariatric identity, who you are as a bariatric patient, molded or come together with who you are as a person? Or do you feel like these are two separate worlds for you? And Jason, I'd love to know your take first, and then Kellie, yours.
Honestly, I do feel like I've gotten to a point, being 5 years post-op from this, or almost 6 years post-op from this leave now, and almost a year and a half post-op from my revision to Sadie. I do feel like I've molded those two identities very well, because in all the conversations that we have and the people that we talk to, we always say, eventually your bariatric life just becomes life. So you're going to have to learn how to dip, dodge, and, transition and move and pivot and all these things.
Yeah.
Or otherwise regular life is going to bowl you over and you're not going to be ready for it. And so I've done a lot of work inside BariNation, outside BariNation, kind of molding those two together so that I wasn't swept off my feet. Because I remember post-op when I met you, April, 2 weeks post-op, I felt like I'd been run over by a truck because I was, going into my surgery. March 11th of 2020, I was the last patient to have surgery before COVID shut everything down. And I had 9 people at my office who had surgery. So I was like, oh man, I got a built-in community. I got people to talk to. I can ask people questions. And then 2 weeks later, it was like, yeah, go home. Oh, shit. Okay. Well, that's cool. Now I don't have any of those people to talk to. So what am I going to do? Because we were all in different departments. So there was you couldn't connect on any of that stuff like you could before. Messenger, none of that. So I was like, I don't have any of these people's number. I don't know how to get we're not friends on Facebook. I had nothing. So I knew I didn't want to feel that steamroll effect again. So when we started talking about that and it became kind of part of the lexicon that we talk about in BariNation, I knew that I was like, oh yeah, no, I've got to buckle down and get prepared for this so that it's not such a slap in the face.
Yep. And the reason I'm curious about this is because we do say this all the time in and out of BariNation. Eventually your bariatric life and your life just become one, right? And you don't feel like there's these two separate things, but it's hard to know when that happens. And I think there are also moments in this journey, and Kellie, you would certainly know, do you find a period of separation again? Is this more of a transient connection, or do you feel it's like you get to this point in your journey, it's like, nope, I am one and the same. These two journeys are one, or do we do this back and forth?
So I think it depends on the person. And I'm going to say it for that particular reason is, for me, I was involved in bariatrics as a nurse and then into administration, et cetera, all the way through. 5 years into my professional journey, or 4 years into my professional journey, I decided I had to do something for my health because I had a medical scare. My bariatric life and my personal life, my professional life, literally is one big ball of yarn. For me, it has been my life since day one of my surgery, preparing for surgery. I made it part of my life. I'm also a person who, my profession, my job is part of me and part of my personality. So does that make sense? Like, it is part of my identity. But there are other people I know that keep it separate to a point of it's their private. They don't tell other people about it. It's none of no one else's business, which is totally fine. I totally understand that. But I think with the type of role that I have and in the job that I have in my career, my goal is to help as many people get healthy as I can. And in order to do that and living the life, it is all one for me. So people always say, oh, you have such a passion for bariatrics. I said, yeah, it's my lifeblood. It was a calling. It got dropped in my lap. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Literally got dropped in my lap one day. And it's what I love to do. I love to come to work every day. And how many people can you hear say that? Like, literally on my worst day, I still love to come to work because I know I have an amazing team. I know that my patients are getting better. How many nurses can say, I know my patients are going to get better?
I didn't even think about that.
I have an incredible job.
Wow.
And I get to be a part of all these people's journeys. And it's not oh my God, you had your gallbladder out. Great. You come back, see the doctor 2 weeks after surgery. You may come back 4 or 5 weeks later. Then you never see them again. I am so blessed and honored to be a part of these people's journeys. And they're a part of mine. They're stuck with me forever. Like, even when I retire in a few years, like, I'm staying in the support group. So they're stuck with me.
Well, and that's something that really hits home to a lot of people pre-op, post-op, looking maybe on the fence, because they hear a lot of people talk about the programs they went through that are just a one and done. like my original program that when I first had my sleeve, I saw the surgeon my initial consult. I saw him the last appointment before I had my surgery, the morning of surgery, and then never again. His whole thing, his whole MO is to push you off to the PA, and that's it. You never see the surgeon again ever. And I ran into him only because my wife had her procedure a year after I did. And he recognized me, even though I had my mask on, when I started talking. And he was like, "Wait a minute, that's you. Wait, pull your mask down." I pulled it down. He was like, "That's
Your voice?
You're you." And I was like, "Yeah." And I showed him my before picture, and he was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "It would be really cool if I had other follow-up appointments with you so you could track along. We could know my progress instead of just on a sheet of paper." And he was kind of like, you could tell he was kind of like, I don't know if anybody had ever told him that before, but I know by that time that I had seen him, we had done so many podcasts and talked to so many patients that I was like, yeah, I know I'm not alone in feeling this way. Yeah. And if I can even help him kind of change his mindset a little bit on how he approaches it, that's awesome. But I don't know if it fell on deaf ears or not, but it just happened to be that way. And I wanted to get my 2 cents in it anyway when I had the chance.
I do understand why some organizations run things the way they do. Some are just so busy that they have to do certain ways. But I will tell you, I have a lot of patients, even in our own program, when we've gone back and forth many times on how many times they're going to see the surgeon, how many times they're going to see the advanced practice provider, the nurse practitioner, physician's assistant, when they're going to see them. And we always find that patients are happier when they actually get a relationship with their healthcare providers. I have some who love my APPs and rather see them than the surgeons anytime. I have other ones who only want to see the surgeon. So it needs to be that conversation between the patient and the care team. What's going to work for you? And what is going to not only work for you, but what's going to work for you in our program?
Yeah. Yep. It's a conversation I feel like we have been having on repeat this year in BariNation. It's almost like there's been this awakening, not only in the patient community, but also in the provider community. I mean, at this year's ASMBS, it was 100% focused on how do we lift shame and stigma that our patients are feeling so that they will engage with us more, because the research is showing the more connected patients are, right, to providers and to a community, the better outcome that they're going to have. And for patients to realize, oh, I can shop around. I can find not only a surgeon, but a program.
And that's what it takes.
And that is what it takes. And this aha moment has been inspiring to see on the professional and the community side, right? I mean, Jason leads Space and Grace twice a week in BariNation. And I know that you were telling me, hey, our members want to know how they find this wraparound professional support, right? They're actually shopping around. We need to provide them support for this. So when the opportunity came to interview on the podcast and get to know you, it's like, okay, the surgeon is critically important, but just as, right? But that wraparound care, the integrated health side of this is what supports patients for the long term. To have a quality surgical team is important. But if you don't have that IH wraparound, and if patients don't know you need to also ask about that.
It's not just a quick fix in the OR.
Mm-hmm.
Weight loss surgery, metabolic bariatric surgery, obesity medicine, none of it is a quick fix. None of it yet. And I would love to give up my job for this. If we could find a cure for the chronic disease of obesity, I would love to give up my job.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure in the next 7.5 years before I retire, it's probably not going to happen. But I would more than happily give up my position if we had a cure for the disease of obesity.
Yeah.
On a personal level and on a professional level.
Yeah.
But obesity medicine, lifestyle, behavioral health, nutrition, weight loss surgery. It are all the tools in our toolbox. And I say this all the time. We can put tools in those toolbox, but unless we take them out and use them when we need them in that part of your life, it's not going to help you. I don't care if you have every single tool in the world in that toolbox. If you don't take them out at the right time, it's not going to help you.
It's not going to help you.
Yeah. If you need to put a hammer in, if you need to put a nail in, you need a hammer, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you need to, cut a piece of wood, you need a saw. But if I grab the hammer to cut the wood, that's going to be pretty messy.
Mm-hmm.
And try sawing a nail. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. Done that once or twice.
Nope, not a good idea. And this kind of brings me to a question that we hadn't planned on asking you, but now I'm really thinking about this. So I think Jason and we have a different answer. But for patients, we hear all the time, you have to add tools to your toolbox, add tools to your toolbox. Okay. How do you help your patients know when they have actually onboarded a tool, right? Step one, right? So like, now I have this tool. And then how do you go that step further? How do you teach your patients how to use the tools that they've acquired?
So number one, we tell them that they're tools.
Okay.
Because even to this day and age, and I can tell you, I did a pre-op teaching class today with a bunch of patients. So it's like within 2 weeks of them having surgery. I had a gentleman say to me, so I'll be all fixed right after surgery. And I went, no, let's have a conversation. Can you give me 20 or 30 minutes at the end of class and you and I have a conversation? So those myths are still out there. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. Social media wasn't a big thing. It was very limited 25 years ago. I think AOL was around. I might have been a first timer AOL person.
Yeah.
Might have had those chat rooms, but we didn't have the mass communications that we have nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I teach my patients? Number one, we tell them what we have available in the program. We leave our doors open, hey, come call us, talk to us, you can send us messages in the portal. You can send me an email. You can mail me a letter. You can call my office. When I'm in Mexico, I'm not going to answer it, but there's always someone who's available to them.
Yeah.
We also know that there are many people within our program and within my healthcare facility alone who have also had and deal with the disease of obesity, and also are patients being treated for the disease of obesity. The people in my program and the people in my healthcare facility are willing to be examples to our patients.
That's what
patients.
Mm-hmm.
I have patients who are willing to be mentors. I have patients who are willing to stand on a stage and say, hey, this is my story. This is my journey. May or may not help you, but if you want to talk about it, come to me.
Mm-hmm.
And letting them know that there are options, letting them know there is no failure in the treatment of the disease obesity. We don't say people failed chemotherapy. We don't say people failed their cancer treatment or people failed, I don't know what else, their thyroid treatment, right? We don't say that.
No.
We say, okay, this treatment plan did not work quite as well as what we thought it was going to work. This blood pressure med wasn't the right one for you. So let's try this one, or let's add this, or why don't we try this lifestyle change?
Mm-hmm.
We need to do the same thing with obesity medicine treatment, or disease of obesity treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So starts with life choices, starts with behavior health, starts with nutrition, starts with medication, starts with preparing for surgery, whatever it takes and everything that it takes.
Well, and that's the beauty of a program that is integrated like what, you and April are talking about, is that people don't feel ashamed to talk to you. People aren't scared to go, well, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to, I feel bad calling because I'm not sure if they're going to, I feel like I've got a stupid question. And we hear that all the time. And the first thing you want to say is like, as crazy as it sounds, it's like when we tell people like they work for you, like they're specifically for you and other patients like you that have these questions.
Right.
Like they want to know because your success is their success. So continuing to follow up with, continuing to ask these questions, continuing to go to your post-op visits, your pre-op visits, all those things, like if you don't show up, if everybody just stopped showing up because they felt like they had a dumb question, you guys wouldn't have anything to do, and there wouldn't be a center to go to because they'd shut down. But that's what we try to keep continuing to explain to people. But the good thing in seeing how integrated you guys are and how you make people feel
I wish,
part of it.
I wish we could get more people to come back after those first 6 months to a year. Our program, just like every other program in the world, at that 1 year mark, people are like, oh, I'm good. I'm like, come back. We want to keep making sure you're good. Now, it doesn't mean you need to see. Oh, you want to know a funny story? Guess what I had today? I had my 20-year checkup at my surgeon's office today. I did.
No way.
I did today. It was my 20-year checkup.
Awesome.
So, do you need to come back for 20 years and see the surgeon? No.
Yeah.
Do you need to be seen by a healthcare professional every year? Make sure your labs are good. Make sure you're touching it on base at least once a year? Yes. Can your PCP do those labs? Yes. But do they know to refer you to a bariatric specialist nutrition or a bariatric specialist surgeon if they don't know how to treat those labs, if something's going funky? Or if you're vomiting every time you eat? It's not just tell them to slow down. Of course, that is one of the things you'll need to do if that's something that's going on. But can they reconnect you if you're not, if you haven't had long-term follow-up?
Yep.
We try to get at least 5 years out of most of our patients. Most patients by 2 years, they kind of quit coming back to the surgeon. But as long as we can connect them and we know they're being followed up by a healthcare professional, awesome.
As you were both talking, what just keeps coming up in my brain, and this is how my brain works, is it's almost like there's 3 C's to this equation. It's continuous, conversation, and connection.
Oh, that's good.
Right? And this is, and Jason knows, this is what I've done for the last 5 years that he's known me. But when we fall into a trap of thinking we don't need continuous connection and conversation, that disease is going to find its way back into our life. It is going to run rampant. And I think as patients, we all go into what we initially called weight loss surgery with this idea. I'm going to have surgery. Everything's going to be great. I'm going to eat less. Boom, 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 boom. Done and done.
Yeah.
Because we're so tired of being uncomfortable in our life. And I think there's this little hope inside of us that says, after surgery, I'm never going to be uncomfortable again. Right? This is going to be that's going to fix it all. And you get past the stage which you're anticipating discomfort, which is that recovery, right? 3-6 months. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, I'm still uncomfortable. I'm still not feeling the way that I thought I was. And if we are not having continuous conversations and connections with our care team or with other patients, we are going to ghost our own bariatric life, right? Which is why every provider that we've talked to, right? Jason says, oh, I wish the patients would come back more often. But we haven't gone the extra step and really thought about why are patients doing this and what can we do as patients? And then what can providers do? I mean, Jason and I, we had each other in the beginning. We were having these conversations 50 times a day. I mean, between text messages and phone calls and meeting on Zoom. And I think what was so helpful for us is that he and I, in these conversations and with the conversations with each other, we could go, oh my God, dude, today I just want to bang my head against the wall. And either of us could go, I was feeling that and I've tried this, a tool, right? We were able to go, oh, you've identified a tool. And not only that, I can see in real time and you can tell me, how are you using that?
Yep.
Like, right? So you say you have a hammer. Okay, great. I thought this is what a hammer was for, but are you using it a different way? We had continuous conversation and connection with one another.
Yep.
And then it branched out to conversation and connection with experts. And then it became peers. And then it was just this entire ecosystem.
Perfect.
And what we are building and have built in BariNation is mirroring that. And I see you building that in your own practice. And as integrated health president, you want other people to create this continuous conversation and connection.
Yeah. No, you have to. Not only do we as professionals need to, within our professional and our organization and with each other, have that conversation, have that connection, that continuously, because Dr. Joe and Dr. John are both doing something similar. So let's find out what they're doing. Or, hey, this doc over here is doing, the program over here is doing obesity medicine this way with the surgery on this side of it. And this is working really well. That is one of the things I love about the accreditation that we have with our MBSA QIP accreditation, because when those site surveyors come, they ask us what we think our best practices are, and then we share them with each other. And I will tell you, I truly believe the treatment of the disease of obesity is one of these groups of people where we share what we're doing. I have no problem sharing, hey, this is the pathway we use for this problem. If you guys can take it and use it, I'm not going to ask another program to start from zero. Why would I do that? When my fellows leave here, my surgeons who do their fellowship here, I hand them examples of everything that we do. Yeah. Because they're going to go start their own program. Mm-hmm. If they need to sit down and think, oh my God, how am I going to make this work? Yeah. I want to give them the tools to have an awesome program. Yeah. They may be starting a program where they have no resources to start, or they may be walking into a program that has a ton of resources. Mm-hmm. But to give them more, and then they call me and go, hey, Kellie, guess what we just did? What did you do? Tell me. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Can I steal that from you? And we share these, and we do this across the board in metabolic bariatric surgery and in obesity.
Well, and it's good to see that you guys have taken that to that level, because April and I often talk about the fact that in our recovery journey, we take pieces from other people's journeys. And so some things that work for April will work for me. Then some things I do that work for her. And we kind of take little chunks of everybody's and make our own recipe out of it to make ourselves successful. So to see you being able to pull, talk about it in the same way, but on a care level is really awesome to see that kind of come back full circle.
Can I say you just said something that impressed me? You said something, I take something from her journey. Those are not the exact words, but that was the point. Because it is her journey. And yes, it's your journey. It's never our journey, because each one of our journeys are our own, especially, and I actually say this when I'm talking to patients, you could be a twin, an identical twin. You guys could have surgery on the exact same day. You could have weighed the exact same amount. Your whole medical health history could be almost exactly the same. You will have a different journey. Mm-hmm. You will have a different journey.
Yep. And the words that we choose to speak, and the phrases that we say to ourselves and other is, I think, the thing that matters most. And we in BariNation, Jason, Nat, and I, and our leadership team and our experts, we recently got together and we really had this conversation, because we realized the words that we choose are really important. Mm-hmm. And it takes a while to embrace those phrases. When Jason and I first started this, we were not using 90% of the words that we use today. But we have just come to understand the importance of honoring everybody's journey, not comparing ourselves to what other people are doing, but understanding that, just like what Jason said, right? He has an ingredient that I need for my recipe. Mm-hmm. And if Jason is brave enough to share his recipe, share his story, and I am aware enough to just listen and not interject shame or wonder or doubt into his story, I can find those things from his journey that I can incorporate into my recipe. And the power of that is that I can thank Jason for that. I can thank the world for that. And I can build it into my own. It's not comparison. It's a way for me to go, man, thank you for doing that. I really needed just this one piece. And it's a wonderful way for Jason and for all of us to be proud of what we're offering to the world, and knowing that we have taken, hopefully, ourselves out of that comparison equation for somebody else. It's this great place that patients and practitioners can really be in. But again, it takes practice. It takes continual effort and energy to get there.
And also learn how to do it with grace and not seem like you're telling somebody what to do. Because if I said to you, oh, April, you have to do it this way. Mm-hmm. And Jason, if you don't do it this way, it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. Well, we can't do that. And I will say that was something I did at first. It was. I'm a strong person. I'm a strong personality. I don't always say please. I always say thank you, but I don't always say please. So you have to learn how to, hey, you know what? I overheard you, or you said something the other day in this meeting. I had something similar. This is what I did. I don't know if it'll help, but if you want to talk about it, come text me later or whatever, whatever.
Well,
Start that conversation, but then give them room to come or go.
Well, I mean, that's a strength, though, honestly, for you acknowledge the fact that you did struggle with that early on, because April and I are the same. Like the only way that April and I got to the point that we are now is from the conversations we had listening to people. Like when we started way back when, we came out with the fact saying that we were going to kind of build this airplane as we fly, and we were going to learn from everyone. So we learned in talking to patients, because we were really patient heavy on rotation when we first began, and listening to their stories and listening to how they talk and listening to what they prefer and those things. So we just picked up on it and kind of built our own, dictionary as we went along, and realized that we wanted to be, because, we've been driving change since we started. And so we knew that if we were going to continue to do that we had to change, we had to evolve as we were going along, and always give ourselves room to do that, and be as respectful as possible, and be, and realize really early that we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We needed just as, we started this because we needed just as much help as everybody else did. We just were lucky enough to stumble across the experts that believed in what we were doing and help us along. And now we've built it into what we've built it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I understand that completely. I remember teaching my very first, I will never forget it, my very first patient education class. So we had already had 4 or 5 patients come through our program. And my nurse manager said to me, "Hey, Kellie, you like to talk." Those were her words. "Hey, Kellie, you like to talk?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I like to talk." She goes, "Would you like to teach a class to patients for, the gastric bypass?" That's all we were doing. We were doing open gastric bypasses. Our first 10 or 12 patients were actually, I believe, almost all of the first 10 or 12 were males, all 600-700 pounds. They were big guys. Okay. Open incisions all the way up the belly. They came in a bed we used to call a big boy bed. That was the name of the bed, big boy bed.
Oh my God. Talk about things that have changed.
Things have changed. Came arms restrained, NG tube a tube in the nose that goes into the stomach called the nasogastric tube, tubes coming out of the belly through the skin, drains coming out of the belly. They spent 3 to 5 days in a critical care unit, intermediate critical care. Yeah. Then they would spend 2 or 3 days in the hospital in a regular unit. Our patients go home in 23 hours, and ours, some other places, they go home the same day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That is a totally different world than what I came into 25 years ago.
Yes. Yep. Well, we have a saying in BariNation. We have a lot of sayings, but one of them is space and grace. And the reason that has been just our rallying cry ever basically since the beginning is because we realized we have to give ourselves permission to get some space between us and the thing that is getting in our way, right? And it can be the disease. It can also be the things that we're thinking about ourselves that maybe just aren't true, right? So I need to take some space from that. But I also have to give myself the grace to know that I'm going to learn as I go. Mm-hmm. We have to give ourselves the grace to know that we are going to make mistakes. We're going to step in it. We're going to make a wrong decision. We're going to say the wrong thing. We're just going to mess up. But that space and grace allows us the opportunity to move forward. It allows us to pause and go, okay, this didn't work, or I didn't do that as I wanted to, or somebody did not meet my expectations. Okay, I'm going to pivot and I'm going to carry on. And that space and grace is what I hear you saying, Kellie. And really applied, if we take even a step back and look at how obesity medicine has changed over these decades, if there was not space and grace involved in that situation, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Correct.
Right? It really requires that. And the disease of obesity is so pervasive. It's so damaging. It's so impactful that you have to carry on, even though there is no cure, even though, right, we are still battling it.
Yeah.
But to know that all of this work and this energy and this effort has made a monumental difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for patients and providers coming together, having these conversations, being honest and open about what this journey is like, we might not be here today.
Correct. 100%. 100%.
So, Kellie, where do you see the future of obesity medicine going, right? You are very much in the front row of this obesity medicine bus that's going down the freeway. What do you see in the future, or what do you hope you will see in the future?
I hope what I see in the future is more healthcare professionals understanding the disease and that it is a disease.
Mm.
I don't know if I truly don't believe all our healthcare professionals really think it's a disease. I just because of conversations I have going everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I hope as we continue this that we're doing now, that the people in the world realize it's a disease.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I say to people all the time, if you have a family member, a female family, or even a male family member who has breast cancer, right? We don't blame them for having breast cancer. It's kind of like going back to my other little theory. We don't say, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't have taken those estrogen milk, or you shouldn't have drank that soy milk, or we need to take away the blame game from our patients.
Mm-hmm.
All last year, you said it earlier, the ASMBS, our theme was, getting rid of the stigma, getting rid of the bias. This year, it's leaving no man behind, no person behind, no one behind. I'm going to get it right. I know Dr. Peterson said it right on his, but I did not. No one left behind.
Yeah.
That means anybody who's dealing with the disease of obesity, anybody in any way, shape, or form of the disease. Our goal is not to leave you behind. Our goal is to pull all of our resources in every single organization, not just bariatric surgery, not just medicine, not just endocrine, which is, your thyroid and your diabetes and your metabolic part of it, not just your behavior health, not just your nutrition. We want the whole team, because if there was a cure and one of us knew it, we would already have it. Mm-hmm. So how many years have we been fighting this separately? We're all in our own little silos. Let's pull us all together, which is what we're doing.
Yes. Yep. We had the honor of interviewing Dr. Richard Peterson right after that episode dropped, right after the ASMBS. And we'll make sure that episode is linked below, because you're going to hear these common themes. And really the big takeaway for me from that episode was we have all been singing a different song about obesity and where we believe the treatment needs to go. And right, the songs are out there, but they are not in concert. They're not being sung in concert. It's not the same tune. It's not the same message. But if we can bring our voices together in concert, patients and providers, that message is going to be clearly delivered. Right? I don't know if you've been to a symphony or a show when the orchestra's warming up, everybody's playing a different tune, right? And then all of a sudden it comes together, right? The instruments are tuned, everybody's locked on that, on the concert master, on the conductor, and the tone becomes one. Yeah. And I feel like in all the conversations that we've had this year with providers, that is what is happening. People are starting to realize, okay, I've been singing this song on my own. It's not doing anything. What if we unite? And just there's no more option to not be united, because there's too much on the line for patients. There's too much on the line for providers. There is just too much to risk for us to continue to sing different songs.
I don't think it's something that we're going to fix overnight. This may take months and years to come together completely. But you know what? The conversation started. We're a year into this conversation.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, almost a year.
And because of professionals like you who are not willing to drop the song, right? You now know what the power can be, and you've known it for a very long time. But I think why we're so excited to see you serving in this IH role is you now have the wand, right? You are in many ways conducting this symphony. And when you have a patient that is in that position, it is hard to ignore. And it demands and commands a lot of attention. And it takes a strong person to serve in that role. And you are very well fit for it. And we're just so thankful that you are serving in that role. You are not afraid to tell it like it is.
No.
And you are excited to have these conversations on patient platforms.
Yes. No, I am blessed because I love what I do. I love the message I get to share, and I get to live it.
Yeah.
I get to live it.
What it sounds like is Kellie's going to be the Quincy Jones to our bariatric We Are the World. That's what we need. I mean, that's what...
You do not want Kellie to sing.
No, that's why you're Quincy Jones.
My grandbaby.
You get everybody together. You're Quincy. Quincy didn't sing. Quincy just got... Quincy just held it down.
My grandbabies go, Grammy, don't sing. You're scaring the babies. Not lying. Not lying. And actually, that may have started with my oldest son saying it about to my youngest son. You don't want mommy to sing. She scares you.
We are here for it all. I'm gonna ask a question. We always like to give the floor to our guests at the very end. But I'm going to start with Jason this time. I'm going to throw us a little curveball. So the question to both of you is, what are you hoping people watching or listening this podcast are taking away from today's episode? And Jason, I'll have you start, and then Kellie, you'll wrap us up.
For me, I'm really hoping that people will hear us when we say shop. Please shop. Please find you a program that's going to be as amazing as what Kellie's talking about. Find a program that's interested. Find a program that cares. Find a program that does encompass all of your journey, not just the pre-op, not just the post-op, not just once the check clears. We want further long-term care in the mix, because the longer you do your follow-ups and the more comfortable you are with the program you're getting into, it is just the better your journey is going to be. When you have somebody or an organization, you feel like you can just call and say, hey, I'm feeling this way. Is this normal? Because these are the questions that pop up post-op. If you don't have that support system, you're going to say, my stomach feels weird. My stomach sounds weird. My nose is running when I eat. Is this normal? I start to sneeze. I start all the things that just that we know from being in the journey. If you don't have somebody in your everyday life that has been through it, you don't know the answer to these questions. And if you're not comfortable enough calling your surgeon's office to ask these questions, or your program, you're not going to know, and you're going to freak out. And then the next person that asks you, oh my gosh, do you have the surgery? How was it? I'm freaking out because I had this, this, and this. And you never know, because you could be talking to somebody else that's on the fence off of that fence. And if you're not comfortable enough with your program, you're not going to reach out and do these things. So you're not going to have the answers that you're looking for. So I would definitely say that you can shop and find the care that you deserve.
Yep. And we have an amazing free guide that we will make sure is linked in the show notes. It's literally called How to Find an Obesity Medicine Specialist. And in that guide, there are questions designed to help you understand what type of support system exists at a program that you are thinking about onboarding, not just a single entity. So that will be linked below. And Jason, I heard those 3 C's in there: constant communication and contact, right? You've got to shop so that you feel comfortable with that. Awesome. Kellie, what about you?
So I'm going to give this a little bit more on the professional side. Just going to FYI, there are some insurances that only allow you to go certain places. That does happen. So you still, if your insurance covers it, you have to go to a certain place. Even if you don't get everything that you think you need to have, reach out to something like BariNation. Reach out to your provider and say, hey, I am looking for this and you don't have it in your program. Can you direct me to someone who you think would be good for me for this? Don't be afraid to ask for those referrals. Don't be afraid to say, hey, you may not have the answer to this, but can you help me get the answer to this, or hook me up with someone who may?
Such a powerful message skill. We often forget that we can ask that second question, right? When we hear from somebody that exactly that. Do you have this? If the answer is no, your next question should be, can you point me in the direction of who does?
Even if it's to give me a phone number to patient advocacy at the hospital or their healthcare system, because you know what, those resources, a lot of the times are there. And in today's technology, guess what? It can be remote.
Yes,
You
exactly.
can live 100 miles away from your surgeon and still have the ability to connect.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
I will also say this, as a professional, do not go on TikTok and believe everything you see and hear. Do not ask medical questions in your Facebook pages. I don't care if people in your Facebook page, patients, please, I'm going to say this as nicely as I can. Don't message me on Facebook and ask me what you should be doing because you feel sick. You're laughing, Jason. It happens all the
That's
time.
why I'm laughing, because
know.
it does. Because I can tell people, I am a patient expert in my own experience. I can't tell you what you are. I have the same thing with you. I'm a nurse, but I'm not your nurse. I'm a doctor, but I'm not your doctor. So I can't tell you what to do.
And patients come to me all the time. They're like, oh, but you went in. This is what you do. Yes, I can give you the general information. I can tell you what's the difference between a gastric bypass and what's the difference between a gastric sleeve and a Sadi. I can tell you where we came from 30 years ago to today. I can tell you what we do in my program. I can't tell you what your surgeon told you to do or your dietitian. And even in the state of Rhode Island, we have 3 certified programs. Do you know we all do things different, even on diets, even on post-op medications, because each surgeon, each program does their own thing. And it's not right or wrong. It's not right or wrong, because guess what? We all have really great results. Our patients are getting healthier every day. We're treating more patients every day.
It goes back to the 3 C's. Constant communication and contact. And we get those questions often in our BariNation community. And the thing that is said and written 1,000 times a day is, that is a great question for your care team. That is a great question for your care team, right? You want to talk about some of the emotional things that you're experiencing, right? You need to get something off your chest. Something is really scary. We're built for that. BariNation is a bridge between patients and their providers. We are there to ensure that that bridge is solid and that it's safe and that it's sound and that you know how to walk it. You know how to access that bridge. BariNation is not here we are not a medical organization. We are a patient education organization. And we work with a lot of medical experts to be the bridge between their patients and the services they provide. And it does take a village. But if you as a patient are not in constant communication and contact with your care providers, it's going to be a real rough road.
It will be. It will be. Because it may not be something just in that first 4 weeks, right? Of recovery.
Well, you just had your 20-year checkup, and I'm sure you asked some really poignant questions in that, even though you're a nurse, even though you've been a patient for 20, right? The journey doesn't end. The wonderings and the worries and the questions and the what ifs, that never ends.
No. So the funny thing is, I literally just had my blood work done earlier this week, and I'm looking at my labs in my portal and it tells me everything's good. But when I'm on the phone with my PA this morning, I was like, can you just double check those numbers? She's like, what? I said, listen, I haven't been clinical on the floor in 15 years. I'm still a nurse. Yes, I do administration more in education and, process. Just double check my numbers for me. And then we went through them together. She goes, really? I went, yeah, really.
Yep.
Because
really.
I'm the patient today.
Yeah.
Of course, the second half of our conversation was about process for the program, but the first half of our conversation was about me as a patient. And if you're a healthcare provider, or if you are someone who works in treating the disease of obesity, either healthcare provider or not, but someone in that field, and you're a patient, it's okay to be both. It's okay to mix those together. Again, you don't have to tell anybody in the world if you don't want to. I kind of I do tell everybody. I tell everybody. And I tell the patients, like when they come to my classes and support groups, hey, listen, you can talk about what we talk about here, but don't talk about who you see here, right? Because these are group classes. These are medical appointments. Yeah. But guess what? You can talk about me all you want. My story's already out there on social media. The bad rumors, I started myself.
Kellie, this conversation has been so refreshing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being the amazing advocate that you are. Thank you for sharing your patient story with us. And just thank you for helping us improve the access to obesity care that everybody deserves and needs.
No problem. I have truly enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, friends, for tuning in. If this podcast episode impacted your life in a positive way, share it with somebody else, because this is how this amazing support continues. All right, friends. Well, we'll see you in the nation soon. Bye, Kellie.
Bye.
That wraps up another empowering episode of the BariNation podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, keep the conversation going by joining the BariNation membership community, where you can attend live support events, access on-demand resources, and find a caring community.
Join us at barination.mn.co. If you found this podcast valuable, help us produce it by becoming a $5 monthly supporter at barinationpodcast.com.
And just remember, at the end of the day, you've got this, we've got you, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.